Wonder what could be in here. Any ideas yet, guys? Pretty obvious, really, isn't it? IMD. These are the type of piston rings from this company that we put in the other engine. And I have to say, they're pretty good. I'm quite impressed with them. But they've got to go on a certain way. Oh, by the way, good afternoon to you all. Welcome back. Now, piston one. Yeah, piston one. So I'm going to put some felt tip marks on these, so we know what's what. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's look at piston one. Now we've got several different rings here. There's the first compression ring, the second compression ring, and then 2 very fragile rings, which is the oil rings. This is the more modern day way of oil ring. The ones that came off, if we look at the difference, this I believe is a Kawasaki ring. If you could see that, that's quite a neat piece of work, that, because you've got 2 rings in one. I don't know if the camera will pick that up. It's very neat. But the modern way of doing it is this. 3 separate rings, top one, middle one, and bottom one. And they all go on the lower one. You guys obviously know that. I bought these, but I got a nasty feeling they'll be rubbish. Yeah, they are. They're not even cramped down there, look. So the ring's going to go through. It's going to go through the gap. From a big store online, you can't see what you buy, beginning with A. Probably made in China. Just that little bit of lack of quality control. See, look, great big gap. The ring's going to go through the gap. Let's see if we can pinch that down. Might need to put them in the vise. Well, that one's gone down. See if that works. Bear in mind that this is a very thin ring. That fits on there. That's the lower one. Now this one, we've got to be a bit careful with this one because you mustn't get it like that. It must be like that. Must be like that. If you get it overlapped, it could cause major problems. There's not a lot of spring in this one, so it's quite easy to put in. Right, we finally managed to get these on. I was beginning to wonder whether I was doing it right. Apparently, the best way to do it is to have, let's open up another pack. They're the two compression rings. We've got to put them on yet, but that's not a problem. We should better get them on, no trouble. Apparently, the best way to do it is to put this one on first. Put this one on first, and then, as thin as they are and as delicate as they are, put these on after, one from the top. I found the better way of doing it is to put one from the top down, which will be the top scraper ring, on resting on top of the coiled ring, and then this one from the bottom up, which takes a bit of doing because they are very fragile. Got to be very careful. So that's that one. Let's put those over there because that's for number 2. Throw that away. Now we've got to put these other rings on, but there's an order for these. The one with the groove in is the lower of the 2. It's got a different ridge. I'm going to check on that to see what it says on the Kawasaki manual, although it may be different because they're different rings. They're not genuine Kawasaki rings, which is making me think a little bit about the way they go around. Well, after making some inquiries, folks, it turns out that the ring with the chamfer on the inside of the ring, which is the middle ring, the second compression, goes up. Now I've put that ring on there, so it's difficult to show you. And the top one doesn't matter because it's square, the profile is square, so it doesn't matter. But this ring, it does. As far as the oil ring is concerned, that one seems to have seated in there, but it does seem to be quite tight. And after talking to Andy, IMD, that will slightly compress when you put the block on. So hoping it should be all right. I mean, it was last time, so I don't see this being an issue. But compared to this ring, which I showed you earlier, that one does seem to be, to me, when it's right up tight on the piston, there's not so much pushing out so far. But we'll see how we go. Let's just make sure that's the right. We want the opening on one, on the lower one, 180 degrees out opposed to the top one. Obviously to not let the compression go down the side of the gap. If the gaps are on top of each other, that would be crazy. So that one's set now. These are much the same. They're the opening of the lower ring on the scraper ring and the top ring. Again, they're more or less 180 degrees opposed as well. So that piston's done. That's number 1, so we can put him there. Just so as we can see what's what, chaps. That's the lower oil ring, scraper ring. That one is the expander ring, the coiled one, and this is the important one that should be a butt joint. Where the ends meet, they shouldn't overlap and lock into each other. That's a no-no. Then above it you can just see is the second oil ring, scraper ring. Then there's the first compression ring. Sorry, the second compression ring, which has the chamfer on the inside of the ring, which should point up. And then there's the top ring, which is the first compression ring, which is square, so it doesn't matter which way that one goes on. But that's just to give you an idea. And obviously these are fed with oil ways, like these holes here at the back of the seat. It's quite boring watching these being done, but what I am going to do now, I'm going to check something. We're going to put that one in the bore and see how we go. So let's just tidy up a bit. Let's get the barrels. Now, just to recap on the last video, there was a lot more work done on these barrels, a lot more work, and yeah, there's still marks in there, but you can't feel them. Run your finger around there, I can't feel them at all. So I'm quite happy with that. They've been honed. They've got nice honing marks on them. I don't know if the camera will pick that up. The marks on them, as I said, you can't feel them. I feel quite confident we should be all right with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to see if we can put number one in number one bore. Let me get some woods a minute, just to protect it. I'm going to put quite a lot of oil on this one because I want to make sure it gets as much lube as possible. Don't know if you guys can see that. It's not a big deal, is it, putting oil on a ring? Quite gooey now. So arrow to the front, which is that way round. And bear in mind, this is with the new rings, so it's going to be a lot tighter, I expect. Well, I hope so. I'm going to tease these down with a screwdriver. If you look back in the previous videos, I put the barrel on the other engine, and you can see the way I do it. And I use these little wooden blocks. They look like little forks that go in there to keep these two. I always do the middle ones first, and then work out. So let's see what we got. Just keep a little bit of pressure on them. At this stage, that light is not bright enough, so I'm going to get my head torch. That's better. That's very, very firm, very tight. That does feel very good. I put oil down the side of the piston so that as I push it up, it gives a nice coating of the actual liner. Let's have a go. We don't want that oil to run away. That's getting easier. Not a lot. But that's nice. That's very nice. I'll leave that one in there for the time being. If you guys can see that, not a lot to see really. But it's a really good fit. Right, we're going to do number 2 piston now. Let's get them ready. Now we know exactly what we're doing. It shouldn't be so tricky, but we have to work it out. And I did actually make a call to IMD and just to check it out, because it turns out that the way Kawasaki do it is different to the way these piston rings go on. So let's just see how we go. So this has got to be a butt joint, nothing else. So we'll put that one on first. That's a piece of cake to go on. And then that's one rail ring. No, it's 2 there. Look how thin they are. This is how you can get so easily lost in that. I'm going to put that top one on. What I'm going to do is mark where the butt joint is. Oh, there he is. Where's the black marker? There it is. Where's my black marker gone? There it is. So I just find out where that is. Now it doesn't matter if that moves, provided it doesn't overlap. So I'll put that one there, spin that round. Slowly eke that over to the top, and down he goes. There's the butt joint, just here. And then we'll put that other rail ring, which is that one, from the bottom. So we'll put it up that way. These are quite easy to manipulate onto the board without scratching the piston, of course. Yep, and he goes in there as well. And that is a good fit. I take on board what Andy says, because as you push these in, the spring, the concertina spring in the oil ring, not the rail ring, the top and the bottom ring, but the middle one that looks like a spring, that one compresses up. So it's putting more pressure on these rings, the rail rings, or keeping them that much tighter in the bore, which is pretty good really. But this oil obviously comes up through the holes and feeds out through these gaps. So that's that one done. So we'll have the front there. The rad is facing up. Now, I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up, guys, but there's like a chamfer on the inside of the ring there. That's got to be facing up. So we'll use the pliers. Let's see if we can put that one on without a problem. Being very careful. It's got to go on the lower seat, which he is. Arrow, gap. It's nice. Turn it around 180 degrees. And it doesn't matter which way this one goes on, that way or that way, because it is square. Well, rectangle really. But I don't know if you can pick that up. But the profile is square, so it doesn't make much difference. So we'll put that one there. And he's in. So that's number 2 done. So I'm going to put number 2 aside. I've got number 3 to do and obviously number 4 to do. I won't bore you with any more, but you can see basically how that works. I hope it gives you some idea. Welcome back, guys. This is the following day from following day from yesterday's work really, when we was working on the pistons. The pistons are just resting on the top of the barrels. They've not been pushed in yet. Today I thought I'd make a start on putting the pistons onto the conrods. When we get the gudgeon pins in, I want to try cooling the gudgeon pins. I think I'm probably going to put them in the freezer or something, I don't know yet. But get them really cold so that they go in relatively easy. They're quite stiff, and to get them out, I remember using a puller as a little device I made to, as you tighten up, it pulls the ring out. Sorry, it pulls the gudgeon pin out. So that's where we are today. It's a lousy day. It's hammering down. Today's date, what's today's date? The 13th of January. Christ, we're halfway through January already. It just doesn't seem possible. Yeah, so let's crack on. Yesterday, I did notice though, that when I was looking back on the video, there's a lot that was just too far away. I'm going to see if I can take you off the pod more so that you can see exactly what's going on. Right, let's undo this little chap here. I'm going to spin you around a sec. Better put this light on now. I hope we don't get strobing, but I'll keep my fingers crossed. I have to say, I'm very impressed with this Action 5, this DJI camera. It does seem to be a lot more user-friendly, more intuitive. I expect some of those studs have gone a little bit rusty on the, but we can buff them up with a bit of oil, just clean them off in general. Let's fold that up and put it somewhere safe. Put the peg up somewhere safe as well. I'm going to need that. Won't be a minute. I think I'll have to have a big tidy up as well. The bench is looking an absolute mess. State of my bench. Well, here we are. Old jalopy. I think we haven't got too many marks on there. I think this engine, you know, when I bought the bike, going back a long time, probably 2016, I'm pretty sure this engine that came out of the bike, it's not the original engine to match the frame number, but I'm pretty sure it was in situ, just stood for a long, long time. A long time. Right, just gonna put you back in the pod. Now, we need to move all this, and I want to try and put that engine, if I can, directly under the spotlight, so I can see what's going on and you can get a better idea as well. Let me just fold this up a sec. It's absolutely hammering down outside. There you go. I just rested the pistons on there last night. They've all been oiled up, ready to go. So what we'll do now is, I can only go so far today because I'm still waiting from David at Z Power. I'm still waiting for a few goodies. One of those things I need is the circlips for the pistons, because I never use the same one, and I don't advise anybody to do that anyway. Let's put you back in the pod. God, you're going for a walk today, aren't you? Right. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Let's write on there number 4. That's come off. Now, bear in mind, this is the other way round. That's the back of the engine, so I've got to turn this round. So that piston, yeah, I've just written number 4 now because it came off. So bear in mind, this cylinder is the wrong way round. So this is number 4, which would go on this comrod. Now I've got to change everything round so that I know where I am. So what I'm going to do is turn the whole block round and then take the pistons out and just see if we can get the gudgeon pin through each piston and comrod. We'll have a go. I'm going to put you back on the pod. Now what I tend to do is we'll clean these out. I'm going to move you around actually, guys, so you can see better. You see that? Yeah. We're going to clean these out and just check them to make sure there's no crap in there. Oil them up and then see how we go. Well, I'm going to do the 2 inner ones first of all. So that would be number 2 and number 3. So let's take number 2. Let's get number 2 gudgeon pin. That one looks pretty good. what I am going to do though, before I do that, I'm just going to see if that will go in there smoothly, and it will. Let's put a drop of oil in there. If they all go in like that, I should be a very happy chap. Notice the arrow's pointing to the front of the engine, which is quite important. In fact, it's very important. So the next one is going to be number 3. Number 3 gudgeon pin. Let's just see if he goes in there all right. He does. See what it's like on the piston. Not quite so well. And that's got stuck. A little bit tight, that one. But he's home. What I tend to do is put that one in there, which is a small 3/8 extension. Just tap him so he's right up against the, it's just only light taps, it's not going to bend the common rod or anything silly. You can feel that change. That's home. Arrow to the front. That's home. And the last one. Some of them have been quite tight. They were all cleaned off. The one thing I'm really careful of is never, if you're going to tap these home, never hit hard. Just gentle taps, because you don't want to do any damage to the piston or the cob rod or the gudgeon pin. I think the gudgeon pin you'd probably struggle to do any damage to it, but having said that, softly catchy monkey, it does pay to go very gently on these. And this is number 1 gudgeon pin. See if it fits in nicely. It does. So you know that's all right. Oh, that's nice. No, not too sloppy. And that's home as well. Now, we can't really go any further, chaps, until I get that package from David. There's quite a few things in there. There's obviously the circlips. I've ordered a guide drift. I think there was 2 other things as well that I can't remember, but I need to look at my list. So that's where we are at the moment. So let's see if I can dig out. Oh my word, they're a bit grubby. The 2 which I use are those 2, they're my main ones. This is just, these are not very good at all, these. As you can see, the other one had just crumbled. Looks like it's got a bit of woodworm. These are made from an old pallet, so you never know what the pallet's picked up. Don't think I'll need more than 2, because I tend to do the 2 cylinders in the middle first of all. So what I'm going to do now is put you back over there. Can you all see that? That light's not very good, is it? Going to see if we can move things about a little bit. Going to bring the engine this way towards me, because the light's better over here than it is where it is. I'm also going to see if I can prop it up, because it's a bit skew whiff at the moment. Ideally, when you do this, you want to keep the engine as level as possible, especially this surface. It's a bit not too bad. That's a lot better. Obviously, we've got to clean the surface up for the base gasket. Make sure there's no crap there. Oh, the other things were, I just remembered, there's some rings that go on here, but on the cylinders. Just take you off the pod. We turn this over. Let's see if I can do it with one hand, or maybe 2. There's some rings that go down here, and they're important because it stops the oil getting up behind the liner, which is, I believe, and I'm not absolutely certain here, I believe if the oil gets up behind the liner, it can expand, and obviously we'll start getting interruptions with maybe gas expanding the whole area. I'm not absolutely sure, but there's definitely O-rings that slot into this recess here. You can just see it. Don't quote me on that, but I know they've got to be in there. Anyway, I'll put you back in the pod. Continue to clean this surface. This one here goes in the middle. That's if I can get the old rubbers off. Look at the way they've seized on there. You see that, guys? Might need to pliers to push them off. See what we got. Don't want to scratch the Yeah, he come off. Number one. Good, there's even a bit of moisture got down there because it's rust. We'll clean that up in a minute. Yeah, a bit of rust here. Number two. Give that a bit of a clean up. That's not a roller bearing on this one. And I think it's because it just, all it does is just keep the chains, that chain on that side, on this chain, which is one big chain, a loop, bashing itself. So that's, I think that's all that does. Let's clean it up with a going to put a bit of oil on it. Now obviously you've got to be a bit careful here because you do not want these little black rests, grommets, what do you call them? Fixers. I don't know what you call them actually. They've obviously got a name. I expect Dave knows the name. Might be an idea to get the cam chain sorted out first. Yeah. You've got to be so careful here. In fact, what I'm going to do with these two new ones, I'm going to put some rag around there because I do not trust myself. Of course, the minute you touch that wheel, the shaft rotates. There you go. I'll put another rag in that cylinder mouth. Now, the idea being now, we'll smother that with oil. And then I will lower these in carefully. In fact, I'm going to do it with some very, very long nose pliers, just to put these, come show you what I mean. These little rubbers have to go in those seats. And the last thing I want to do is to lose one of those inside the engine. So I'm going to be very careful. See if I can get that one in my fingers. I can relax a little bit because I've got the holes covered. So if it does jump, it's not going to jump down into the base of the engine. Might not need the long nose pliers after all. Well, not quite right. Up. That one's in the wrong way around. Up. Up. And that's it. He's a fiddly little chap, isn't he? up, up. They're both up. So now I know they're there. Take these rags out carefully so as not to disturb. There we go. You have to be bloody careful with that cam chain when you move it. If you move the cam chain, you can really disturb the roller. Let me show you what I mean. Watchmaker mentality, I say, with this. Just there, it says up on the rubber block. You see that? On that one and that one. But you got to be careful of, if you move that cam chain as I just did, it twisted the shaft that runs through this jockey wheel, idler wheel. And so, it nearly popped these out and they nearly fell into the well. They're not magnetic, so I would be in real doo-doo street if these little chaps fell in there. As it happened, I managed to use the long nose pliers and put them back. But I didn't have the rags in, so I'm probably tempting fate there, but I've got away with it so far. Let's just hope that doesn't move when I do the rest of the work. Very tempting to tape them down on a temporary basis, but we'll see. Let's put you back in the pod. The cam chain is to one side, as I think you saw just in that previous shot. So now I'm looking for a base gasket. The thing is, what I've just come to realise, yeah, it should be right, because these two will be top dead centre and I can put the circlips in from that side. And what I tend to do is take the circlips out on the outer side of the piston. So this one needs to be replaced, that one needs replaced, that one needs to be replaced. When I say replaced, there's nothing in it at the moment. And obviously that one needs to be installed, that's a better word, in that side. So that's looking good. So we've cleaned off that surface. I will go around again, being very careful. Everything looks tickety-boo. Let's see what we can find in the old gasket set. I'm getting a bit cramped for space here. Would you believe in this size of this garage? Now there is a gasket in there. There it is. That is our base gasket, to be pulled out with great care. So here's our base gasket. Which way round's that go? It is this way. Now, we have to be careful here. I do not want to disturb that roller. we can get this on, the gasket will, to a degree, keep those little rubber blocks in their place. Sit it on his little dowels. There should be a dowel there, and there's one missing. Need to check that out. Right. I'm gonna just check that cylinder block. No, there's no dowel on there. It didn't get left anywhere. So I'm gonna have to hunt for that dowel. It's gonna be somewhere around here, probably on the spares table. Found the little chap. Needs a bit of a clean up though, so I'm going to spin him in the lathe without changing the size. You've got to be a bit careful because you want to locate that on there very accurately. You don't want it wobbling about. The other side with the oil ways, because they come from the oil gallery here, look. So I did make sure all that's been blown out. We know that's all nice and clean. The oil ways from the oil pressure switches on the back, there's an O-ring to go in there, but I won't put it in just yet. And there's an O-ring to go on the base part as well to feed the crank. So let's clean this up a minute. I'll be back in a minute. Well, I tried to put this in the chuck in the lathe, but it's just too small to get in there, so it's a hand clean, I'm afraid. But it's coming up all right. And we want it to be clean so that when we lower the block on, it lines up and just sits down nice and snug. Nice and nipped up, as we say in England, nipped up. But yeah, that looks all right. Let's go and try it in the block. Give it clean with a rag. It works in the block all right, so let's just make sure that it sits quite nicely. Nothing underneath that. So all we need to do now is wait for the package, and then we can put the circlips in. Do drop some comments down below, guys, if you've got some points you want to make regarding this build. I'm still in two minds as to what to do with this engine. I think, let me take off the pod a minute. I think what I'll probably do is, if my health will let me get away with it, is to take that engine out and put this one back in. It just makes sense. It does make sense. It's a bit of a job, but it does make sense. But it's slowly coming on, slowly getting there. And these two have got to be at the top. There we go, top dead centre. And now these have got to go in. My little pegs, as it were. Hope there's no woodworm in there, because I don't want getting woodworm into the engine, do you? That goes down like that. This one comes over, and they sit on there. In actual fact, that's the wrong one. the thickness. There we go. I can't do this with one hand. I'm going to have to put you back in the pod, guys. That's it. Now both of those now are dead level, and that's what really helps to get the rings started on these two cylinders into the block. I mean, I've done this before. I mean, there is quite a bit of work I did on the last engine with all this, putting the block on, doing the rings, etc, etc, etc. But I don't think I filmed it very well, and I want to see if I can film this a bit better so you guys can get more of an idea of what's going on. And now it might help you. Maybe not just with a Z1 engine, any Jap multi of the 70s and 80s. I mean, they're all much of a muchness, really. And I do believe that a lot of them are copies of this particular motor. The first double overhead cam engine to come out of Japan. But if you guys know different, do let me know. Right, let me come back to the camera. I think, guys, that's where I'm going to have to wrap it up until I get those parts. It's all ready to go as far as putting those circlips in, and then we'll close up with the barrels. And then what's after that? Right, yeah, after that I want to start working on this, start preparing all, cleaning them all up. They were oiled up. But we need to clean all these up, the camshafts. There's no rust on them. All that. The oil is still on the surface, actually, which is nice. Clean all them up, clean the shells up, clean the caps up, make sure everything's tickety-boo there. And then, now I'm not quite sure what we're going to do with this. It's tucked away on the shelf at the moment. Oh. Yeah, it's tucked away on the shelf at the moment, and that's the cylinder head. There's two cylinder heads, actually. There's one I bought on its own a long, long time ago. God, it's got to be 2000 and maybe 2017, 16. And I bought it really as a spare. But I think what I might need to do is take the guides out of that and use that just as a test bed, as it were, to see how the guides come out. I know I've got to get that cylinder head. I'll probably take it indoors for this. I've got to get that cylinder head to some wacko temperature, about, I think it's about 180 degrees, 200 degrees, maybe slightly lower, 150 say. And it's really got to be hot. And then you drift with this tool that's coming, you drift the guides out. Now I'm pretty sure it says in the manual if you put new guides in there, you've got to use a reamer. I think it's a 7mm reamer. I'd need to check. But yeah, I think you have to ream them out. So we'll have a look at that as we get closer to it. Right, from me, I'm going to say cheerio for the time being. I'll be back when the parts come through, and I'll get everything prepared, and then we'll film the rest of it, putting the circlips in. And I got a little bit of a knack with that because well, two things really. You don't want them going down inside the engine. And the second thing is you want to make sure they don't ping off somewhere. So yeah, we'd be very careful with that. Yeah, I'll come back with all that. So for me, it's goodbye. Speak to you soon. I shouldn't bang on about this, but then some people say you should mention it. You should mention it. If you like what you see, yeah, do subscribe. Do put a little like on the like button, bell, whatever it is down the bottom, and I'll be back soon. Cheerio.